So, how did you meet? If I asked this to you, would you know what I was really asking? Well, never fear. In today's lesson, I'm going to help you answer this question and talk about love in English. Hi, I'm Vanessa from SpeakEnglishWithVanessa.com, and today you're going to have a chance to speak with me and practice your English speaking skills. Yes! The topic of romantic love is a common one in daily conversations, so I'd like to help you learn some common questions about love, some common phrases and expressions we use to talk about love, and then you'll see a sample conversation between my husband Dan and I about love, and then it will be your turn to practice speaking in English out loud with me about this wonderful topic of love. Are you ready to get started? Well, before we do, I have something special for you. I'd like to invite you to download the free PDF worksheet for this lesson with all of the important questions, phrases, sample sentences, and a chance for you to write down your sample conversation with me and practice it out loud as many times as you need to. The goal is for you to boost your confidence so that you can go out into the real world and talk about this daily life topic with confidence. That's the goal, right? To have confidence. So I recommend downloading the free PDF worksheet. There is a link in the description that you can use. Just click on the link and the free PDF worksheet is yours. Let's get started by talking about some common questions that someone might ask about love. If you're walking down the street with your boyfriend, someone might ask you, how long have you been together? This means how long have you been dating? Or they might ask, how did you meet? This is the question that I asked you at the beginning of this lesson. And it's not, where are you meeting right now? Like, oh, I'm just walking down the street. No, they're asking, where was the first place that you ever met each other? And you might say, oh, we met at school. Or we met at a bar late night when I was dressed up like a turtle for Halloween. There might be a fun story to go along with that. Another fun question is, where was your first date? This means the location of your first date. So you might say, oh, our first date was just to a restaurant. Quite simple and a common thing to do. I like this one. How did you know that he was the one? Or how did you know that she was the one? This means that this person is the most important person for you. You will either get married or you already are married, or you're just going to stay together for life. They are the one. How did you know that he was the one? Well, there's a lot of things you might say to this, but a common expression that you might use in response is, well, when you know, you know. It's this feeling you have inside of you. Well, when you know, you know. Another fun question about love is, do you believe in love at first sight? So if you go on a date and your friend asks you, how was your date? You might ask this, do you believe in love at first sight? Because I think I'm in love. And you've only been on one date. Well, that is love at first sight. And your friend might say in response to you, understandably, is it true love? This means a real, deep, enduring love, not just something simple or puppy love like we'll talk about in just a minute. Is it true love? Great question. And hopefully not after the first date, but at some point your friend might ask you, well, when's the wedding? And they might be asking you this as kind of a little joke. Maybe you're not engaged yet. You haven't actually said that you're going to get married to that special person, but your friend might be kind of hinting, when's the wedding? What's gonna happen in the future? Tell me about your relationship. All right, let's go on to some common phrases that we use to talk about love. The first category of expressions are types of romantic love. We're gonna talk about the most shallow leading to the most serious. The first, most shallow one is an expression that I just used, and that's puppy love. Sometimes we use this to talk about children or young people when they have their first love interest. This is a crush. When they have their first crush, we might say, "Oh, young puppy love." And the next word is the one I just used, a crush. Sometimes we use this to talk about someone we know in real life, but you can also use this to talk about a celebrity, for example. So we might say, "When I was younger, I had a crush on Johnny Depp, the actor." Obviously, it was something unrealistic, but it just was something that was in my heart, a crush. And as we amp up the feelings, we might say, "It wasn't love at first sight, but over time, I fell in love with him." Love at first sight. Have you ever experienced this? If you have, you might use the next expression, which is head over heels. You could say, "I fell head over heels in love with him right away." Wow, that's a very intense experience. And this just means you can't keep your balance because your love is so strong. You don't know what's going on. You're just in this whirlwind of love and emotion. You fell head over heels in love with him. And once you move beyond puppy love, falling head over heels, you might say, "Now it is true love." Our love is true love. It's not just puppy love. You can make a comparison. It's not something fleeting and simple and shallow. Instead, what we have is true love. So romantic. And when you feel true love, it is getting serious. So serious is sometimes a word that we don't really associate with positivity and something like love, but this is a common phrase that we use to talk about a relationship that might lead to a long-term relationship, either a marriage or a lifelong commitment. So your friend might ask you, "Oh, are you getting serious?" And they're asking about the enduring quality of your romantic relationship. Is this something that's going to last? You've been on 3-4 dates already. Is this getting serious? Or maybe it's something that's not serious and you might say, "No, we're not getting serious," or "I think we're getting serious. He might be the one." Our next category of expressions to talk about love are words to describe romantic love, and then we'll talk about some verbs to describe romantic love. The first one is a fun one, sappy or cheesy. Personally, I use cheesy all the time. Let me give you a little example from one of my high school relationships. And when I say relationships, I mean romantic relationships. You could say, "My boyfriend and I wrote long letters to each other every day." It was so cheesy, but you know what? I loved it. You can get the sense here that it's something that's overly sentimental. Maybe it kind of makes you feel like, "Oh, that's a little strange," or maybe that's a little too much. But you know what? When you're in love, it's something that is not a big deal. It's cheesy, but it's true. The next one's a fun one, lovey-dovey, lovey-dovey. And usually this has to do with a public display of affection. Sometimes we call this PDA. So if a couple is always holding hands and snuggling in public and kissing each other, we might say, "Wow, they are very lovey-dovey." But the opposite could be true as well. You might say, "We're not very lovey-dovey in public, but I still really care for him." And that's just kind of personal preference, kind of a cultural thing too. Next, I want to tell you some pet names that we often use in the US to talk about our romantic partner or to address our romantic partner. So instead of saying their name, you might call them or you might say this about them. You might say, "Babe, hey babe." You might say, "Honey, hun." This is my preferred expression. I'll tell you a silly story about it in just a minute. You might say also sweetheart, sweetie, love, or dear. Hey dear. So I want to tell you, I often call Dan, my husband, hun. But apparently, I rarely say just hun. Instead, I often say, "Hey hun," because I'm giving him some kind of direction or calling to him. So I might say, "Hey hun, where are you?" So one time I called into my yard. I said, "Hey hun, where are you?" And my child, my son, went into the yard to look for him. And he came back and said, I don't know where hey hun is. So he had heard me say hey hun so much that he thought this was one expression that I used to address Dan. Just a silly little anecdote. And you can really use any of these, but I do want to give you a quick little cultural note that in the US, if a stranger says sweetheart or dear, it's kind of rude. It's almost like they're trying to make fun of you. So let me give you a little example. Let's imagine that a woman, usually this is referring to a woman, let's imagine that a woman is going to the gas station and she's about to put gas into her car, but she does something wrong. Let's say that she pushes the wrong button and she uses the wrong handle. Someone who is at the other gas pump might look over and say, "Hey, sweetheart, that's not how you do it." Well, it's not really something correct that she's doing. And that guy added the word sweetheart kind of to imply that's a kind of stupid thing to do that you're doing. Wasn't a very polite expression. But if you're using this with someone you love, it's not a problem. Now, this is very different from in the UK. Expressions like love or dear or sweetheart are used by strangers in a positive way. I remember many times in England getting on the bus and the bus driver saying, "Come on, love, get on the bus, love." And I thought, oh, that's so kind. It's so sweet. The way he said it was so endearing, and you could tell it was said with a kind of kindness. So this is a cultural difference in the US compared to in the UK, but if you're saying it to someone you love, don't worry, it's all right. And finally, before we get to our conversation practice, let's talk about 3 verbs that we use to talk about love. The first one is a lovely little insect to give you butterflies in your stomach. Have you ever been in love and you just have this feeling inside of you that's hard to describe? It kind of makes you feel maybe a little bit nervous, a little bit excited, all at the same time. You might say, when I first saw him, I just had butterflies in my stomach. We can imagine a butterfly fluttering in your stomach, and it kind of describes that feeling of discomfort, but excitement at the same time. I want to know, is there an expression that's similar to this in your language? I know that some languages use other animals, other insects, and have really colorful ways of describing that feeling of excited but nervous love. So let me know in the comments what that expression is in your language. Have you ever heard this in a fairy tale? To live happily ever after. And this kind of implies that there are never any difficulties or problems. It's kind of an overly sentimental phrase. So we might use it in real life like this. I thought that getting married meant that we would live happily ever after. But the reality is that marriage is a lot of hard work. So here we're comparing this fairy tale idea that everything is always just wonderful and roses and rainbows and happy. And the reality that having a long-term relationship with someone is a lot of work. So we can use this in kind of a realistic way too. And our final phrase, our final verb to talk about love is this one, to grow old together. This is a very romantic phrase. So we might say, my husband Dan and I met when we were very young, but we look forward to growing old together. And this implies we hope that we will be together forever until we are old, and we will live through all of life together. We are going to grow old together. This is a phrase that you might hear in someone's wedding vows. As they get married, they might say, I look forward to growing old with you, because it's a very sentimental thing to say. All right, are you ready for our conversation section? Let's take all of the questions, all of these key common phrases, and add them up together in a conversation. You're about to watch a sample conversation between my husband, Dan, and I, talking about our long-term relationship. Guess how many years we have been together. You'll find out in the conversation in just a minute. And then after that conversation, it will be your chance to speak. I'm going to be speaking with you, asking you some questions, and you need to speak out loud and practice with me. But before we do that, I want you to watch the sample conversation and get ready. Let's watch. Hey, hon, I have a question for you. Do you believe in love at first sight?
Ooh, good question. I don't know if everyone does, but I sure do. It happened to me.
Oh, really?
With you.
Oh.
I had butterflies in my stomach the first time you talked to me. And I knew it was more than puppy love.
Oh, that's so sweet. How did you know that I was the one?
It sounds cheesy, but when you know, you know.
Oh, that's so sweet.
What about you? Do you think we'll live happily ever after?
I sure hope so. We've known each other for 19 years, so it's starting to get serious.
I'd say so.
Well, here's to growing old together. All right, so now you know the answer. We have known each other for 19 years. Incredible. Well, now it is your turn. I want you to practice speaking out loud. This will help you to retain and remember everything that you've learned from this lesson. I'm going to be asking you a question and then I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to pause while you speak out loud. You can repeat this section as many times as you need to kind of gain and grow that confidence in a safe area until you go out into the real world and talk about love. All right, are you ready to get started? Let's do it. So I want to hear about your romantic partner, or your spouse. Tell me, how long have you been together? Oh, well, tell me, what was your first date? Thanks for sharing. Now I want to know, do you think that they're the one? Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you for sharing with me. I love hearing other people's love stories. I hope that you live happily ever after. Well, congratulations on growing your English speaking skills. Feel free to go back and review that conversation as many times as you need to. And a great way to do that is by downloading the free PDF worksheet. This includes all of the common questions, all of the common phrases, definitions, sample sentences, and the sample conversation, plus a chance for you to review and write out your answers to these questions. My goal for you is to be able to take this conversation skill and go into the real world to use it. So make sure you download the free PDF worksheet. You can click on the link in the description to download that free PDF today. Well, thank you so much for learning English with me, and I'll see you again next Friday for a new lesson here on my YouTube channel. Bye.
What about you? Do you think we'll live happily ever after?
Well, what's I supposed to say?
We're done for.
We have to start over. I can't do that. But wait, do you want more? I recommend watching this video next where you will talk about your weekend plans. This is another common conversation topic. What if you went on a date? What if you didn't go on a date? Well, you can learn how to talk about it in this conversation, and I'll see you there.